Hey guys, some Gamer Dude here. So today we're going to talk about the Grade 3 Granblue with Protect gifts, because I think it's a good place to start with the Grade 3, because everything cascades off those. Get a good look if there's a budget deck. So let's start with the cheapest one, Witch Doctor of Decay, Negrobreach. Standard stats for this card: continuous, Vanguard Circle, Regard Circle. During your turn, if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, this gains plus 10,000 power. Act, drop zone, counterblast 2, call this card to Regard. If your Vanguard is grade 2 or greater and it was not placed during this turn, you may ride it as stand instead of calling it. This is actually interesting for a budget deck for two reasons. You wouldn't run it in a Basskirk deck. It's got no place in an expensive deck, but it's interesting for a budget deck for a couple of reasons. Yes, it's counterblast 2, that's quite a hefty cost, but it's a +2 itself. You don't have to ride, which means you don't lose a card from the hand for that, and you get the Protect gift anyway, which means you +1 off that. And later on during the game, when you've accumulated that 10 discard, which is not hard between Dandigar Romario and Ruin Shade right now, you get a plus 10,000 power, which with Dandigar Romario, you're looking at a nice 34,000 beater. It's not exactly the, oh, this is the most impressive thing in the world, but it's very much like Royal Paladin, oddly enough. It's just big power, few +1s, beat, except it doesn't have the Force gift, it gets the Protect gift instead, but it uses its own effects to get the power of the Force gift. It's really interestingly constructed. Really like it. This is a really good budget boss. I actually think it's one of the better ones. If you can't afford Basskirk, I wouldn't feel too bad about running this guy. It's actually really nice to see a budget boss be good again, because the first extra booster, they were pretty shit. I'm not going to pull any punches. The budget bosses in Extra Booster 1 were horrible, and that's part of the reason why I'm having a hard time talking about them. So, let's go on to Dragon Undead Skull Dragon. Same stats. You can't call him from your hand. He can't be normal called anyway. Something might be able to call him in tandem, but he can't call himself. And it is continuous during your turn on Vanguard and Regard. He gains plus 2,000 for each card in your drop zone. This actually makes him stronger than any other card in the clan in terms of raw power, because for the same stats, same restriction that everything else has, that plus 10,000 to go up a bit of power, he, instead of gaining a static amount, he just increases each time. And for the same restriction of 10 cards, he gains plus 20,000 versus Negrobreach's 10,000. That's strong. And at the end of a battle which this attacked on Regard, retire this unit. This makes it really problematic for budget decks, because outside of Captain Nightmist, there's no real feasible way to bring this back. It's just a nightmare to try to handle. But the interesting thing is, if you can get Witch Doctor of Decay Negrobreach into the discard pile early, ride him through his own superior ride, you gain a +2. Dance Cutlass, I think we saw last night, is a card that can countercharge. And then, because you don't actually lose anything with the Protect gift, ride Dragon Undead Skull Dragon later on, and you get this huge beta Vanguard. It's actually really nice. It's kind of a shame that they haven't given you anything in a budget deck to mess around with Dragon Undead terribly much on the Regard, but I guess that's trying to make Basskirk sell better. I just am not a big fan of the way they're handling budget decks now. I think there were better ways of handling this. And finally, King of Demonic Seas, Basskirk. During your turn, if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, this gains plus 5,000 power, +1 critical. And as an act, once per turn, counterblast 1, soul blast 1, so you do fill up the soul that way. Call a card from your drop zone to Regard, and this unit gains plus 5,000 for each grade of that unit. So you call Dragon Undead, you have 10 cards in the discard pile. Well, enjoy your plus 20,000 plus critical Basskirk. An interesting note on Basskirk, it looks like they've actually changed his head design. His eyes and the front of his head look really different to the way they used to. It looks like they've tried to make him more attractive, I guess. But the card's effect's plenty attractive. It's a +1 whenever you want, a huge power buff whenever you want, and brings out cards with huge power buffs that kill themselves, which means you have to call them anyway, which means you can just keep recycling them. It's actually a really good card. I really like Basskirk. The only problem is it's a Vanguard rare. It's probably going to be about the $30, 3,000 yen mark. They generally are. I want to do a video on this later on. I'm not a big fan of the Vanguard rare now all the dust is settling, but we'll talk about it later. I do like Granblue. I think it'll be something that'll be a lot of fun to play. Reminds me of quite a bit of Royal Paladin, but a bit more interactive, technical, and honestly more up my alley. This has been some Gamer Dude, and I'll see you guys next video.